Just because you can doesn't mean you should. We are giving him a great deal. I believe we will end up giving him a great deal of power because we're putting faith in him to do what's best for the citizens of the state of Oklahoma. We've already passed an exception to the Open Meetings Act because we want public bodies to be able to meet but then do it. And I would join you in a call to not suspend those things.
For follow-up, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Leader Echols, we've already touched on that the governor has the power under this act to essentially move money around up to the amount of $50 million. Do we expect that the governor feels that all state funds are at his disposal under this act, or are there specific state funds that he plans to utilize if necessary?
So it's my understanding, it's a great, I had the same question. It's my understanding the state funds that would be available to the governor, he has certain funds available to him now through OMES or through other areas, very similar to, for example, the House has certain funds that are available to it. Admittedly, the governor's agencies are much larger than the House's agencies, but it is our anticipation that he would only take those that he does have available. I don't pretend to be an expert on all things the budget. That would be Chairman Wallace and Chairman Thompson. What I do know is that there is a limit on his ability to touch things. It would have to be things in OMES's budget or other agencies that are 100% within the purview of the governor.
For follow-up, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Leader Echols, you may know this. It may be because this is uncharted territory. You may not know this, but if we were to authorize another health emergency, does that $50 million start over, or is it $50 million cumulative?
I don't know. So I had the same question, and I think we're going to have staff try to come. If we end up issuing another health emergency, which I agree is very possible. It's very possible. It depends on two things. It depends on what the governor does with the power that we give him now, which I have faith is going to be use it for the good. But as they say, have faith, but trust, but verify, which we think will happen. And two, it's still necessary because some portion of the pandemic is going on continually. We will have an answer to that prior to moving forward. I would rather say I don't know than tell you wrong. So at this point, I just don't know.
For follow-up, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Leader Echols, I think you'd agree that the governor has already taken quite a few actions pertaining to this health emergency, and I think we would both agree that those actions have been necessary. We're also seeing a number of municipalities take actions, and I think we would both agree that those are probably necessary. What I'm asking is, does the governor plan under this act to follow some of what municipalities are doing and issue a statewide shelter-in-place order rather than what he's done right now, which is the safer-at-home order?
So I don't know. I do think the governor has no intention of stopping what, for example, Mayor Holt or Mayor Bynum has done. I very much, or Mayor Lewis and Moore, for another example. I think he shouldn't. If he should, I think the mayor should have the ability to deal with their municipalities. I think, and I know we have some disagreement there, I think there's functionally no real difference between the safer at home and the shelter in place. I think in function they're kind of the same thing. But I do not believe he has any intention of taking away the authority of mayors. I do need to point out under the act he could, but I don't think that would be responded to well by the legislature. If mayors were to, for example, be told how they were going to run their towns. As a matter of fact, I talked to Mayor Holt in Oklahoma City when this came out. We talked a lot about the authority the governor is asking for. And one of my questions, as an executive of a city who I support, I think Mayor Holt's doing a great job given the circumstances. Mayor Holt hadn't done everything I would do, and I promise you I haven't done everything Mayor Holt would do. I mean, nobody knows exactly how they were going to respond. Everybody's just doing their best. I think we need to be supportive of both our executives, and again, I would call on the governor, let the mayors do their job, and the mayor should let the governor do his job as we try to all get through this together.
For follow-up, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative, is it your opinion that the governor could issue a shelter-in-place order statewide under this act?
It's my opinion that he could. Now, it's also my opinion, again, that he functionally already has. It's my opinion that a safer at home order that shuts down non-essential businesses is functionally the same as a shelter-in-place order that shuts down all non-essential businesses. As somebody who has employees in 5 states, some have shelter-in-place orders, some don't. The functionality of how they deal with their day-to-day hasn't changed in any of them. So I have to agree, and I know this wasn't a trick question how well you and I are working together, but I absolutely have to agree. I think he has that power because I think he has, and all in function. The only difference is the words that are used.
For follow-up, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think the functionality for many who are still calling for a shelter-in-place order, and I realize we're getting a little bit away from the resolution, but this is something that the public's talking about quite a bit, and so I think that we owe it to them to have this open discussion on the issue. Do we know if the governor plans to tighten up that essential business list? Because I think we know that businesses have been able to apply and some of them have been granted essential status, when I think a lot of people would think, well, that business probably isn't really essential.
I apologize for no. I Representative, this is where there's room for disagreement. There's absolutely room for agreement. I do think there needs to be a debate around what is and is not an essential business. I absolutely would agree there. I think one of the things we need to be looking at as to whether or not it's an essential business is what do we need to essentially survive day to day. I don't know what the governor's plans are there, so I can't. It's an excellent question. I can't answer as to what I think he will do with that, though.
Are there any others wishing to ask questions? There are no others in the queue at this time. Representative Virgin, you're recognized for another question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Leader Echols, under Section 6701, the Act requires that the state take all available and reasonable means to disseminate information to the general public. Do we know what the plans are to use all available and reasonable means? And are we doing that now? How will things change if we authorize this act?
Well, I think the legislature right now is doing a good job of that, at least. I think if you look at your members' social media and our members' social media on both sides, we're doing everything we can to get out information. I think if you're listening online right now, one of your best resources is your member of the House of Representatives, meaning the general public. How do you apply? You and I both have answered everything from how do I apply for unemployment, how do I deal with small businesses as to whether or not they're open or not, how do I deal with PPE for my local municipality or my local county. As to the governor's side, so far, I think the governor's done an excellent job. He's had daily press briefings where he's both talked to the media and answered questions from the media. I think he will continue to do those things. I can't give you specifics as to exactly what I think the governor will do, because admittedly, because I want everyone to go in this vote with their eyes open. I mean, admitting these are large amounts of power that we're giving the governor right now. But I think he'll use it consistently with the way he's used his other power. And he will use that in a manner to, he will continue to have those daily briefings and continue to be open and transparent with the public. I have faith that that's exactly what's going to happen, and I verify, because if that's not what happens, this body would come in and take it away.
For follow-up, you're recognized.